In this video, we're going to talk about all of the different test options and how they will affect your students and their test-taking experience in Blackboard. The test availability settings. As always, you have the overriding make link available option. You want to leave that as yes. If you want the test to be available only during a specific date range, you have your display after and display until down here. Again, you have to check the boxes and enter the date and time. Most instructors do post an announcement for tests, but selecting that in the test options will automatically generate an announcement for you. You can set multiple attempts, unlimited, or a specific number of attempts. If you don't select any of these options, there's only one attempt allowed. The forced completion option is something that we have a lot of trouble with. It's not something that's really well understood, and I would encourage you to thoughtfully consider whether or not you want to enable forced completion. Forced completion means that a student, once they click begin on the test, if they leave the test for any reason, that means if their internet connection drops or the power goes out or whatever the case may be, they will not be able to get into that test again. If the test is proctored, please do not check forced completion, because if a student does lose connection, which can happen during our high volume testing time, students can lose connection to their internet, but their test is being proctored, so we know that they're not looking at the test and then going off to study and then coming back. So forced completion for a proctored test is bad because we can't get the student back into the test, and we have to completely reset the test, so the student will have to start over from the beginning, which isn't really fair to the students and does cause a backup in testing. So for proctored exams, please do not set forced completion. The timer is also an option that's misunderstood by a lot of instructors. Setting the timer will not in and of itself force the test to submit when the timer is up. It will not stop the student from continuing with the test past the end of the timer. However, there will be several prompts from the timer letting the student know that their time is nearly up, and one of those prompts does indicate that if the student clicks OK, the test will be submitted. They have to click cancel in order to continue, and a lot of times a student will not carefully read that box and they will click OK, the test submits, and they think that Blackboard did it magically all by itself. So you want to make sure that you're letting students know, if you set the timer, that they will get those prompts and to read the box carefully. The auto submit feature will force the test attempt to submit after the timer expires. It's between 5 and 7 minutes, and that has a lot to do with the computers communicating with the Blackboard servers and the refresh rate of Blackboard. So it's between 5 to 7 minutes, and it will automatically submit the student's attempt. If you don't have auto submit on and a student goes over the timer, it will be indicated in the grade center that they went past the timer. Again, we have our display date options and the password. You do have to check the password box as well as enter the password. It seems redundant, but if you don't check the box, the password will not be enforced. We have our due date setting, which will add the due date to the calendar. Section number 4, self-assessment options. If this is a test that's going to be graded or that you want to see the results for, do not change the default options. The feedback area we get a lot of questions about. By default, only the score is selected. Submitted answers will give students the answers that they selected, but it will not indicate to them what answers were the correct answers to select. They will be able to tell whether they got it right or wrong because it will give them the points that they scored on the question. Correct answers will indicate to students which answer was the correct answer. A lot of instructors don't like to use that option because they want students to go and study additionally to find the answers to the questions that they missed. So choosing just the submitted answers allows you to indicate to students which questions they got right or wrong and which answers they selected, and encourage them to go on and study to find the correct answers without giving it to them. And the feedback is the feedback that you typed into the box either on a per question level or in the overall feedback area of the test. So if you've bothered to take the time to enter that feedback, you want to make sure that you have that selected. Presentation modes all at once will show all of the questions on a single screen, and students can scroll up and down to answer the questions. One at a time will display a single question, forcing students to click Next Question to proceed with the test. The prohibit backtracking option can sometimes cause problems. If you are presenting the test one question at a time and you have a later question which would give away the answer to a previous question, you may not want students clicking back and changing their answer on that previous question. That's what prohibit backtracking is there for. It will prevent students from going back in the test after they've moved to a subsequent question. What you want to be careful with there is that students will undoubtedly click back. Even though they're warned at the top of the test, you're not allowed to go backwards. They will try it, and they will get a 404 page not found error, and they will panic. Typically, clicking the back button on the browser will clear that and allow them to continue with the test. And when they call us, usually quite panicked, that's what we recommend. And also we tell them not to click back. If you use the prohibit backtracking option, you might want to include an additional announcement to students letting them know. Just something to think about if you're deciding on whether or not to use prohibit backtracking. Randomizing questions means that each attempt, even if you have multiple attempts and it's the same student, each time the test is accessed, the questions will be in a different order. A lot of instructors like to use that to prevent cheating. Those are all the test options. Again, I want to make sure that everyone is very thoughtfully considering each of the options when they're deciding how they're going to set the options on their test. You want to know how those options are going to affect students in their test taking. And if you have any questions, just always come and let us know.